How you doing, everybody?
Greetings, everyone. Dr. Annette West, publishing pusher here. Thanks for joining me. In the JetNay, publishing, talking all things books. Yes, the operative words, all things. I'm excited you're here. You listen in, share your thoughts. You don't have to be live on the screen to be able to talk. And I want you to know your success is my business. I'm here to assist you, support, empower, inspire as we pull out those thoughts to get these books accomplished. Thanks again for joining me.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Annette, publishing pusher. Welcome to the Talking All Things Books Q&A session. We will also be talking a bit again this week on book business plan, on your book business plan. We talked a bit last week. We did an introduction 2 weeks ago. So this will be the third part of that. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to remind everyone to check out my website at jetnaypublishing.org, jetnaypublishing.org. Send me an email. Let me know that you're following me. I would love to dialogue with you. Remember, that is jetnay.org. And you can also reach me at jetnaypublishing@gmail.com. If you are a book author, entrepreneur, kingdompreneur, and you would like to be a part of the Publishing Pusher podcast and have a chat with me, message me, and I will get you set up. Now, remember, your book must be, I focus on faith-based content. It doesn't have to be faith-based, but it must be clean content. So no words with explicatives running through it, no sexual content. I want books that the family can read. There are enough publishers out here that if I am not your fit, there's someone who will definitely work with you. And I believe I need to stay true to my relationship and commitment to the Lord and what He gave me to do and how to engage with this publishing company. And I am not going to veer from it. I want to welcome Miss Anna Roseborough, Anna's Coach Up podcast, keeping them on stream. Good morning, Miss Anna. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today? I had one
Good.
question about your introduction when you get ready for questions.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, Miss Anna, I'm always ready for questions because, we just kind of go back and forward. So what's the question, Miss Anna?
You mentioned that you prefer having nothing with that has sex in it. My series addresses the Christian response to sexuality. Does that mean that would not be something that you would be interested in having families read together and talk about?
Ms. Anna, your book actually conceptualizes content that does not go into detail, and it is not explicit. You talk about, and we understand where you're going with it, but we do not have any steamy sex scenes in the book. So that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I believe. You can get your point across and tell your story in a clean way, as compared to something that would push readers away.
Because I notice sometimes writers write about times when they have been victimized.
Oh, sure.
In that case, and often it is a sexual situation. So thanks for clarifying that. One, that I can continue to talk about what I've been writing, but so that other writers can know they can describe a situation without being explicitly sexual to the point that it would become more than a PG book.
Yes. I'll have to laugh because I just thought about I was on the cruise ship. I was on the cruise ship with my family. And there was a guy that was a comedian, and he had an early session and he had a late session. I couldn't make it to the early session because of our dinner time. So I started not to go, but I went to the later session with my family. And I was sitting there thinking, why does he have everything he said? I understood, but why did he have to be vulgar? And why did he have to have explicatives interjected into what he was saying? So at some point, I was like, I can't take this no more. I had to just get up and I had to leave. So as I'm out in the foyer and I'm just speaking to some people, they said, "Oh, I saw you just come out of the show. It was great, wasn't it?" And I was like, "No." And they said, "Well, the early set, we took our kids and it was great." So what he said at the early set, he did not say at the late set. So I'm thinking if you can clean your tune for this group, you could just clean your tune. People are going to receive what you have to say or not receive what you have to say. But it was a turnoff for me. And then my brother said, "Oh yeah, the later sessions are always a little more. And I was like, yeah, no. Because to me, I don't even want to hear you on a clean set. Like if I know that your next set is raunchy and you're going to be talking about the same things, but you got to put all of this in it to get people excited. I don't want to listen to anything you're saying, but that's me. Because
Well,
I don't want to be thinking about crazy stuff later. And we know how easy it is for things to get in our mind that is not supposed to be there.
and that's one of the things that you often mention on this podcast about audience. Same story, same situation, but when we know our audience, we present it in a way that will keep their minds and hearts open to the message that we have to share. Can't think of a more explicit way of doing than you just did right now, but thank you for explaining that some messages get messed up when it's presented in with vulgarity.
Yeah, and my son used to write rap. And he used to they had a group and they used to sing and stuff. And he was like, "Mom, I want you to listen to this." I was like, is there any explicatives in it? And he was like, "Well, Mom, well, I'm not gonna listen to it. I'm not gonna listen to it. You weren't brought up that way. If that's what you want to do, you're an adult, you're over there in your world, that's fine, but I'm not gonna listen to it." So
Mhm.
one day he came, it was some years. One day he came, he said, "Mom, I want you to listen to this." I said, "What's the question?" He said, "Mom, it's totally clean. I really thought about what you said. And now my group, we don't have any words in any of our songs that don't belong there." He said, we got the point. So now it's like, okay, I can listen to what you rapping about, what you talking about. I said, because when it comes to rap, I need to be able to understand it. I need to hear the words. If it's so fast and so moving that I don't understand it and the music just sounds good, I can't be interested because I don't want to be moving to something that's not good. So that was also a good example of, teaching your children. They have their own minds, they can move how they want to, but to be able to see them come back to to that foundation.
I'll have to join you on that. My son was a rapper as well. He lived in Germany and traveled from Germany to France to Switzerland, the Netherlands, all that time rapping for the military. And he had a couple of videos made of their work. And I asked him, when are you going to send? He said, "Mom, this isn't for you." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You wouldn't." I said, "Okay, I appreciate your honoring what I do and what I believe and what I've taught you." And more recently, he too has come to understand that you can tell your story without using expletives. And those who are not offended by it can still get the message. Those who are will also get the message. So you almost double your audience when you
Mm-hmm.
clean it up. And so he continues to make music, to perform music, but not music that his mom would not listen to. And to keep that in mind when we're writing as well, that what we write represents who we are. But if we're going to be vessels for our Father in heaven, we have to keep it clean.
I remember the Centered in Christ series. In the first Centered in Christ book of the series, we had two gentlemen that wrote a devotion in the book. One of the guys is from California, and he had something in his devotion that it wasn't tastefully written. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
So I messaged him and I was like, hey, I'm going to make an adjustment to your devotion and I'm going to highlight it and I want you to read it because we want to make sure that what we have, it can speak to everybody. So I cleaned it up. Same thought was there, but I cleaned it up and I sent it to him. He said, I didn't even think that I could write it like that. He said, I didn't even think I could write it like that, but that sounds really good.
Mhm.
And so even as book coaches, mentors, publishing companies, whatever capacity we are in, and we're working with people, we have to make sure that we're reading everything that they are writing. Because we don't want to be signing on to something. And later, after it gets published, somebody said, well, I can't believe you put that book out. And we never want that blemish on us that would dishonor the work we do or that would dishonor God. So just a little, that was not in our conversation plan today, but you never know what the conversation is, how it's going to roll. I wanted to remind everyone, you can reach me at Jatne Publishing, JATNE Publishing.org. If you would like to be interviewed and have a chat with me on my podcast, I would be happy to speak with you. I will not just say, yes, I will interview you. I'm going to send you some pre-guidance. And if you complete that guidance and send it back to me, then we will be able to talk about having a podcast chat. And when I get people that I chat with and I'm feeling that connection, I forward them to other podcasters who are looking for people on their platforms. So it's not just about showing up and getting your voice heard on my podcast. It's about the networking. It's about getting your voice heard on other platforms. What say you, Miss Anna?
Well, you're talking about getting our voice heard. You mentioned when you introduced me the podcast, keeping them on stream. This has been an interesting week as I've begun to talk to school districts and some of the support programs for homeless persons and telling them about this keeping on stream. This is a summer podcast series designed to help students retain what they've learned this past school year. And the question has been, how do parents entice their young people to stay connected over the summer? And getting that message out, who to talk to. And one of them was someone in another state who heard about it from someone I met at an author event. I called the one I met. I said, well, this is what I'm doing. She says, well, I think this particular person would be interested. And so we were able to meet this weekend, this past week on Zoom. And she had some really good questions about how she would be able to adapt what I'm presenting. And I would like to invite those who are listening to um, Talking All Things Books. This series is based on a book that I have written called Experience, Poems, and Pictures, Poetry That Paints, Pictures That Speak. And at first I wanted to use it as a vehicle to sell my book. Then I said, no, there may be people who can use this, but may not be able to afford a $20, $26 book for the young people to do. And so I began to include pictures in the presentations so that if people don't have the book, they can still utilize the podcast. And so getting that balance between selling our books, using our books, letting people know what our services are, has been an interesting challenge for me this week. But I can say, thankfully, there have been persons who've said, if you have families or school groups who need books, and this person sent me a check. And so if there are persons who want to do the program but may not be able to afford $20 a book, contact me. We may be able to reduce the price of the book per person because someone has contributed this, believing that this is a good way to share what we know, but more important, to support families who want their young people to continue learning.
That's really good, Miss Anna. And it's good to support projects that other people are doing. It's not just about what we're doing. I mean, we have a purpose for what we're doing, but it's also about us reaching out and across
Yeah. Mhm.
across spectrums
Mhm.
to see what others are doing and to see how we can assist. It just reminds me of the Great Commission, that the work is outside, the work is over there.
Mhm.
We're doing something here, but there's even more to do if we will go out. I had an invite yesterday to again to go to Nigeria. And
Mhm.
I've not made it to Nigeria. I've been to Africa, but I've not been to Nigeria, which is actually closer to me than where I've been. And so I have been really thinking about it and praying about it. So I said, well, it'll be time next year for me to make that trip. So I have a year to work on it and then go. And actually that's really a better place to go in that I don't have to be there as long. Like if I travel all the way to Kenya, way over there, I can't go and come back in 7 days. I need that 3 weeks because I need a day, I need that 2 days going. I need a day to get it together mentally and physically when I get there. Then I got my days of working, days of moving, and then I need the same thing coming back.
Mhm.
So it is a lot. So I'll be heading to Nigeria and Sierra Leone and maybe even Ghana next year because I have ministry partners in all three of those areas. So it will just, the determinant will be the logistics
Mhm.
of going from place to place. But once you get into Africa, it's typically cheap to fly to different places. It's just expensive to get there, to get in the country. So I think once we got to Nairobi last time, I think it cost us $75 a person to fly from Nairobi to the village area that we needed to go to. So somebody's probably going and you just didn't know that.
Right.
Yeah. So don't book your tickets before you go. Just book your ticket to Africa where you're going to leave and where you're going to come back. And then while you're there, book a ticket when you're ready to go to your place and get back to it. That's what I would say.
Okay. Mhm.
Miss Anna, you've been to Africa, right?
Correct. Multiple, I won't say multiple times, but while I was teaching full time, I got an opportunity to be in an exchange with teachers from Kenya, Uganda, and Mauritius. And it was a 1 month exchange where 6 teachers came to our county in Southern California, and 6 of us went there. And it is one of those persons that I stay in contact with in Mombasa who is considering using this, keeping them on stream because it's available on YouTube. Our question is, how can we get the books to them? And she's contacting their tech person to find out whether or not they can just stream the series into the classrooms. But sometimes those connections that we make there continue. My daughter lived in South Africa for a while, and so I went and I was there for a couple of weeks with her. And that was a very enlightening experience, traveling to some of the places we'd only read about. And at that time, I was teaching at Calvin University, which is of the same European descent as the Europeans that settled in South Africa. And being a part of a group that had been a part of the group that had been so oppressive for so long was a challenge for me of who am I? Who are they? And more importantly, what are they doing now? And so I would encourage those who have an opportunity to go. It's more than just a historical event. It's more than a missionary outreach. For many of us, it's a personal experience. We've got to come to terms with who is God, who am I, and how can I share with those people with whom I'm working. And the group in Mombasa, the way we stayed connected was because of our faith. And
Mm.
she'll see me posting something on Facebook and she'll send a note, tell me more. So go if you can. If not, support those who do.
Are you aware, Miss Anna, that in the KDP, when you are ordering books, that there's a place in there where you can actually go to other countries?
Yes, yes.
So you might want to just go on and
The question is which Amazon publishers uh, ship to those places more economically than I can.
yeah. So what you would do, yeah. So we just going in testing the water. So we're going to go in, we're going to find the country we want to send it to. We're going to put in the address that we want it to go into. And sometimes them addresses got a whole lot of information on them.
Right.
Instead of our address says this 1499 Brook Street, they might say 777 down the street, make a right at the
Right.
second box, down at the bottom. I mean, some of the instructions that I have seen when I did send some books to Africa and different places is very interesting. But I would go on there, I would price out what it costs for X amount of books I want to send. And then I would go to my own, it's a little legwork, but it also gives me an idea for the next time. I don't have to do the legwork. I already have a good idea. And then I go to my post office and I tell them, this is what I want to send. I already got it packaged. What is it going to cost me and how long is it going to take?
And sometimes it's not what we think. When that book, Experience, Poems, and Pictures, was translated into German, I was planning to send them to the lady who helped me with the translations. I would say help me, who did the translations. She couldn't get them. Amazon didn't ship to Switzerland. So she had the books sent to her grandmother who lives in Germany. And one of the weekends she was visiting her grandmother in Germany, she was able to get the books. And so getting the books out there is not as simple as we think because we're working with a worldwide distributing company. Worldwide, yes. Everywhere, no. So we've got to do our research, and coming here to Talking All Things Books reminds us of some of those preliminary steps that we need to take to get our books out there.
Yes, I remember when one of my authors, I think it was in the third, no, it might have been the first or the second book. And then they had to go to New Zealand and they got stuck in New Zealand. And I sent her books in New Zealand. I think it took about 3 to 5 days from shipping for people to get the books. It took her 6 weeks. Those are the things that we have to know. Logistically, it may take a good while for authors to get their content. But we are still thankful that we have the avenues available that we do, because 20 years ago, these avenues were not available. And 20 years ago, we probably wouldn't be, Miss Anna and I would probably not be doing all of this because all of the platforms weren't available for us to do all of this. So as we continue and we continue to develop, technology continues to morph. I say morph because it's moving pretty fast. We just have to grab a hold on to as many pieces as we can to make sure that our content is getting to the people in the places. But I have to agree with Miss Anna when she mentioned the YouTube. Having your content on YouTube, even if you think that a lot of people aren't checking it out, somebody somewhere that the only way they can check it out would be on YouTube. At least you have your content on YouTube. Just food for thought. All right, Miss Anna. So today we want to jump back on to what we were talking about last week which was book. My screen jumped. Building our business plans. We talked about this for the last 2 weeks, and now we are in week 3, and we will talk about this some today. Last week, I talked about the executive summary. Today, I want to talk about your author bio. Now, we've talked about this in other things that we've talking about. So some content is reiterative across different topics, just so that you know. But make sure that you have built into your business plan your author bio and your platform. Hi, Coach Kim. Your author bio and platform. It is important for us to highlight our expertise. What are you good at? What do you have certifications in? What is your background? What are your credentials? People want to know. Now, when we just talking, we're not going to say all of that. You know, it's a turnoff when you meeting somebody. Oh, this guy I met, and he was like, yeah, I have a doctorate. And say, I don't care about none of that. Let's just have a little dialogue and let me ask you some questions and then you tell me. So it was a total turnoff in that conversation so much. I guess my face was speaking till his wife came and got him. That's how bad that one-sided conversation was going. Yes, but we do need to let it be known in our business plan. We need to include details about our platform. What platforms are we on? Don't go get a lot of platforms just to say that you have them. If you're new at it, grab maybe 2 platforms and then try to work those. You may find out that one or both of those are not your best fit and you need to go to other platforms. So I used to have several, but I stepped back from my TikTok because I'm not going to invest we have to know where we fit best and where we're really going to put forth the energy on that platform. TikTok was not it for me. Instagram was not it for me. I have a really great LinkedIn account that has like 5,000 people following it, but I don't even put anything there. So how are people following? They see one thing and then they like your page and they follow it. So I archive myself from that because people's accounts are being stolen. So if you have accounts and you're not using them, people are trying to access them. So that is something that we need to really be mindful of. So what social platforms are we going to be on? Right now, I am pretty much is my YouTube. I'm doing stuff on Zoom and I have content on Facebook. The only reason I'm on Facebook is because I was on Facebook when they first started. And therefore, I have lots of content on Facebook. It's not really going to matter soon because as of July or August, everything that you have is going to be, all your videos are going to be gone off your pages. And the only thing that's going to be there is what you did in the last 30 days. So from 30 days to 30 days is what you will have to show. So unless we are going to take the time to go and pull those videos, which I did pull some videos, but a lot of that stuff, listen, when I get about 1,000 videos in my ministry group on Facebook, I'm not going to try to delete 1,000 videos, okay? I'm just not going to worry about it. If I have a series, I will pull the series where I have several videos, but the individual things, which I have many of, I'm just not even going to worry about it. Because guess what? The likelihood that we teach the same topic the same way twice is slim. It is slim that actually happens. Coach Kim, how you doing? If you're able to speak, you're welcome to.
Hi there, I can speak in about 5 minutes, so sorry.
Okay, that's fine. You're fine. Okay, sounds good. All right, so make sure we include details about our platforms that we are on. What's our social media, our podcast, if we have a newsletter. And listen, you could do a newsletter, a monthly, bi-monthly, a quarterly, or a bi-yearly, biannual. You can do a newsletter and let people know when it's going to come. And it doesn't have to be 50 pages. It could be, you could do a one or two page newsletter that has different blocks with different information in it. I was looking back at some of my newsletters that I did years ago, and I was impressed. Miss Anna, you ever did something at some point and then you put it aside, and when you went back and you was like, God, you gave me this? Like, oh my goodness.
Mentioning that, periodically, that's one of the things I like about Facebook. Periodically, it will post on our page something that was posted a year, 2 or 3 years ago that we may have forgotten that we did. And anyone who follows me there will see that I posted one of the interviews of someone who asked me about the book that I chose to use for our summer program. And I said, you want to know why this book will work this summer? Because this particular educator from Florida called Multicultural Classrooms interviewed me about this book and got so excited about it that I decided to use it for this stream, keeping them on stream. I had forgotten that he had interviewed me about that particular book, or I had forgotten his enthusiasm for it. And so sometimes, as you say, and sometimes going back and look on our website and said, oh, you posted a picture of a group with whom you work, particularly the ones working with young people. When I see some of the young girls that I worked with in a group called Grade School to Grad School, and these young people are graduating from high school now, and said, thank you, Lord, that you gave me an opportunity to work with them at that point. I wish I could connect with them now to see how they're using that, but being able to repurpose or share in another platform what we've done in one place is not so much patting ourselves on the back, but helping to tell the story of what God has been able to do with and through us.
That is good, Miss Anna. So come up with some things that you can say, this is what I'm doing. This is you can see this is an old piece, right? It was colored, but I copied it. This was done in 2005. I would actually go back and look at the date. This was done in 2005. It is a 6-page newsletter. And I looked at it and I was like, man, I was really professional back then. Okay. And it was a quarterly publication designed to motivate the reader. I had Christian, and this is a Christian one, but I had different topics. I talked about outreach efforts where they were being done. I did book reviews in here. We talked about, I had poets that I knew. So it had a poetry corner in it, and somebody's poetry was showcased in there. I had a business forum where I reached out to my business people and got them to talk about a topic and put in here. And it was just a blessing. And somebody said, why don't you do those newsletters any longer? I think we just shift and do different things at different times. It doesn't mean we won't come back to it. And if we come back to it, it probably has a totally different look, a total different feel, a totally different flow. But I haven't been using my MailChimp account, and I've been watching people send me content, which is their one-page newsletter. So I'm saying, okay, if I have 500 people that are in my MailChimp account, I can send them a monthly, a bi-monthly newsletter, even if they never respond. Because you never know. But if you're sending things to people that you are connected to, many of them do read it. And some of them may not read it then, but read it later. And you never know who will remember what they saw, and they will reach back out to you. just as I was out of town last week, I got a text from a lady who said, I spoke to you last year about doing my book, and I wasn't sure of the direction that I was going to go in. He gave me some insight. I'm ready to get on task with my book, and you are the first person that I am reaching out to. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a fit because something she mentioned doesn't work in my plan. She said she wanted her book done by June, the end of June. I'm thinking, it's almost the end of May. I'm not going to stretch myself to do a book in 30 days. Now, can it be done? It's possible. Have I done it? I stretched myself to do it twice. But guess what? I actually stretched myself to do it. What was it? Was it 7 day? A 7 day something when I did the book last year on gardening. I think it was 7 days. But I was a part of that program. So I did what I had to do because I was a part of that program. But would I do a book in 7 days? No. Would I do another book in 30 days? No. It's not, especially for someone else, when you understand all the pieces that need to be addressed and the back and forth, especially when it comes to the editing, and then you got to get to the format. I would say unless you have a team of people that are available and your projects are such that you can just do it. But guess what? That would be a totally different fee. That would, you want a rush job? Because when we need service for something at our house, right? And we call them on Saturday, they say, well, if I come on the weekend, I'm gonna charge you an extra $250. Then you have to decide, right? Do I really need my heat on and it's cold outside? I'm gonna have to give up the 250. Or you say, you know what? It's not cold yet. I'm glad I checked it early. I'm gonna have to wait till Monday to get this service, right? Because we are very mindful of our resources. So if I was to take her book, I won't. But if I were to, it would be a larger fee on it. It would have to be. You cannot do the same work when someone's asking you to do it 4 to 5 times faster. It's not that you can't do it, but with everything else you have going on in your business, life, ministry, and everything, will you be able to do it? Any comment, Miss Anna?
I was thinking I would do one of the things that you would recommend that we do here is send this person a questionnaire to see how far along they are on the process. Sometimes people who have been working or planning to do a book for some time have the content ready. They've already run their editorial editing programs, and they just want the final steps. And I think depending on what the topic is and where this person is on that process, it could be done because it may just be a 20, 30-page book. On the other hand, if this is someone who's writing a memoir like the one I was telling you about, she said, I've got the content done. It's only 600 pages. I said, how many years you got working on this? You want me to help you with? It took us 2 years to get it out, but it was down to 300 and some pages by that time. So as we're listening to these reasons for taking on or declining or passing along, some of the people who ask us to help with the book, knowing how far along they are in the process and what we have on our own schedules would determine whether or not we would take this on. And as you said, is this person willing to pay for the extra time that it's going to take to get the professional support they need to get a book out of the quality that you want to have your name connected with?
And so yes, Miss Anna. And so we as authors, now if you're listening to us talking about our business plan, we go back and forward in our discussions. Just, it's talking all things books, Q&A. And so we'll get on one topic and we'll talk about that and we'll jump back to another topic and we will dialogue about that. Well, I will be speaking to her this evening. And she did tell me that she felt that her She used words that we use that I had told her. She said, I believe my manuscript is edit ready. But I know my schedule for June, right? We know our schedule. So I know my schedule for June. There's no way if she works with me, she's going to get her book done in June. I know it's not. I already have a cruise plan. I have 3 authors that are in front of her. And so these are things that we have to be willing to let people know. I have a queue. You're not even in my queue yet. You haven't signed a contract. You haven't paid your initial deposit or anything. These are things that we have to, it's not that I don't want to work with her, but we can't work with everybody just because we want to work with them. And I want to say hi to Nicole Carter, the Joy Coach. Good to see her in the room today. She's not able to talk, but just good to know that she popped in. And then we have Coach Kim also in here, the job search strategist. We have Miss Anna Roseborough, Anna's Coach Up podcast, keeping them on stream. And of course, I am Dr. Annette West. So popping back to that author bio and platform, that needs to be in your business plan. And you also need to show in writing, they need to make sure they understand it, how your brand connects to your book's theme. One of the things I mentioned early on is that we're building our business around our book. That's how we're getting started. So you've got that book and you sold some copies, but you haven't sold as many copies as you thought. You thought you was going to sell 1 million copies or earn $1 million, which is slim to none for it to happen for us. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's slim to none. But guess what we can do? There are other things that we can do to build our brand around that book. And building that business plan that talks about the things that you plan to do, how you plan to do it, how you plan to move from A to Z is important. So what you want to do with your book brand, you want to treat yourself as the CEO of your book. You are the CEO of your book, and you want others to recognize who you are. Comments? Coach Kim, are you able to pop in real quick and share? If not, no problem.
Hello
Hi.
there. How are you?
Good. What's going on in your world, Coach Kim?
So I actually am one of those people that you mentioned earlier that, you message all the time and email, and then one day they'll open up your message. You and I have never met face to face. We've talked a few times on the phone, but it's been many years. And a few times I've received the email saying that there is a call, but it's usually at the end of the day, and the call is already passed. So I am, my profession is a recruiter. I've been a recruiter for over 20 years and was laid off from my job and said, okay, I'm just going to spend this time and focus on building my business and helping people with their job search, right? So
Nice.
the book has been on the list and on the shelf for many, many, many years. Since the first time I talked to you. So I'm really not even sure what the Zoom is. I just joined because I'm like, I know that's part of the plan. So let me just start moving that. And I feel like God put it in front of me for a reason today. So I'm here. So
Well, you are in the right place, Coach Kim. Let me tell you, we are here every Thursday. This is called Talking All Things Books Q&A. So you are actually in the right place. And listen, if you miss sessions, we have sessions on YouTube that we have done for this. Okay. So you can go to the Jetnay Publishing on YouTube and you will find quite a few sessions that we have done on Thursday. So we are repurposing our content. We're doing it live here. And then I'm a part of on the Publishing Pusher podcast with Jerry Royce, his network. And so, because I was not interviewing as many book authors, we started integrating Talking All Things Books Q&A into the podcast as well, so that there would still be something active in the podcast every week. So you're in the right place for sure.
Thank you. You guys are very warm. Thank you for the warm welcome. So I'm glad to be here, and we'll be checking out the YouTube as well. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And listen, you can always send me a question or two. Jetne Publishing, Jatne. That is my family, John, Annette, Terrence, Nikki, Ebony. That is our names in order of our birth. My husband, myself, and then my 3 kids. And it just fell that way. So as I begin to end this session, because it's 45 minutes, we're at our time. I'll just tell you this before I end. Jetne means family. So it actually, when I looked it up and researched, it is actually a village in Poland called Jetne, and the village means family. So God worked it all out that the name that I chose is actually a story to go along with it. So we are Jetne Publishing. So I want to thank everyone for coming in. Check out the chat. Miss Anna posted her information as well. I'm going to give you a minute if you want to download her link to check out her work as well. But I want to say thank you so much for joining me this week. I appreciate you taking out of your schedule, your time. And I always like to end with 2 thoughts. The first is, you are blessed to be a blessing. The second is, if you serve King Jesus like I do, you are supposed to be the visible manifestation of his invisible presence. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Annette signing out, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.